Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And today I'm going to be a little bit at a loss of words, if you can imagine that, because we have a spectacular What's in the Box haul. Because although we only got 5 bottles put together, it cost us, well, I don't even know how to say it. It cost us a lot of money. You know what? I'm going to do it like a classy guy and write it down here. So yeah, it cost us a very, very good, healthy amount. I don't even think I could say it makes my wallet chap just a little bit thinking about it. But we got 5 bottles for that amount, and it's going to be pretty amazing. And you wonder, how do you get to that number? How do you find 5 bottles and get to this amount of money? Well, let me explain. Pappy's, BTACs, and a wild turkey that you're only going to find in international waters. So today we are doing an epic box haul that makes the whiskey budget squeal like a tickled pig. But I think you all are really, truly going to enjoy it. Now, before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, the drink throughs, and really all the amazing stuff that we have cooking up for you, and we have tons and tons of stuff cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also, you know, you get updates when our newest videos come out on Sundays and sometimes in between. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So today, let's start this off with a real quick whiskey check. And look, nothing I have that's open right now is going to do justice to this amazing epic box haul. But you know what? Inversely, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to something that is simple, that is nice, and not too crazy, something around $30, which is, get a glass. I'm going to be enjoying some of this Eagle Rare 10, and it's still kind of in line with what we're doing today. So, yeah, you never go wrong with an Eagle Rare. No one's going to poo-poo that. So let's see if we can get a pop off of it. Turn the bottle over there. Get a pop. Thought you'd be better. And get some juice. Oh, yeah. And to whiskey. Because honestly, let's face it, you can never really drink too much whiskey. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. Oh, never misses. Never misses. So first things first, let's get this bad boy open. We got a big box, which came from overseas, and it is, as you can see, fragile. No, it's not from Italy. And I will do the first incision here. Man, they packaged this thing like, like they're gonna have to float it. And voila! I don't know if you can even see it. Let's just turn this bad boy over. Oh. And see what we got inside. Oh, jeez, they package it like it's. Oh no! All right, let's see. All right, so first up to bat today, it's going to be a bottle that, let me get it right, just for all the whiskey pendants here, the Van Winkle Family Reserve 12-year-old Lot B. Now look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? That is a beautiful bottle. So there, now that I've called it by its full name, I'm just going to call it Pappy 12 moving forward because it's just too long either way. So first up today is going to be the Pappy 12. And this one is one of the more kind of entry-level whiskeys for the Van Winkle family lines overall. Yes, of course, there are the Pappies, which are the golden boys of the group. But there is a place in this world for the Van Winkle Family Reserve 12. It is based off the Buffalo Trace wheated mash bill with an estimated composition of 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. Actually, I think it has a very kind of formal aesthetic to it. I mean, if we just look at the label here, it's very, very like squared away, right? The layout almost reads like a menu at a fancy restaurant where they don't have the prices on the menu. And really, it doesn't matter what you order anyways because it's a preset menu and you're going to eat it and you're going to like it and no, they don't have any chicken nuggets. Anyways, it has a bit of a lighter touch as far as ABV on it. As you can see there, the ABV is at 45.2% or 90.4 proof. And we actually were super lucky enough to get to try this one while we were in London doing our Pappy drink through. So if you want to take a look at that, take a look at our Pappy tasting video from London, I think from a couple months ago. And we both found it very, very enjoyable. Now, honestly, nothing to write home about, but obviously we enjoyed it enough to send away for it. So we got this one for 895 euros, which comes out to $975.55 USD, which is about where the market price is right now, especially if we compare it to the most recent price that it sold at auction from Sotheby's at $938 USD. So just a few bucks less, so it's not too big of an upset, but I think it is an indicator of where the whiskey market is going, just as a side note. Now, next up is another level of the Pappies, kind of the entry levels, right? Again, which is the old Rip Van Winkle 10 from 2022. Now, the weird thing is that I remember maybe 10 years ago not knowing anything about whiskey at all and seeing these at Costco for like $100. And I thought to myself, who would pay such money for something with such a silly name? Yeah, turns out it is me. Anyways, it is also another offering out of Buffalo Trace that is from the wheated recipe. It is a considerably higher ABV, though, than the Lot B, the one that we just talked about. Again, we also got to try this one while we were in London, and again, we found it very enjoyable and a great alternative to opening up some of the older Pappy bottles that, could be considerably more expensive, especially when the Rip Van Winkle 10 will suffice. Also, in many ways, we found it to be a lot better than some of the Wellers we tried. Take a look at the Weller. I'll post it up here, the Weller drink through as well. Being as that they are both wheated and both kind of from Buffalo Trace, I think they would be an interesting comparison to do. Note to self for another video. Also, just a note about the bottle design is that the bottle design is considerably more chaotic than what you see on the Lot B. I mean, just look at them. This one is kind of squared away and nice, and everything is laid out perfectly. This one kind of all over the place, and also pays homage to the story of Rip Van Winkle, who, if I remember correctly, got drunk and fell asleep and woke up 20 years later. Not exactly sure. Oh, he also, they won or lost the Revolutionary War. I don't remember which one it was, and I don't really remember what the moral of the story was. Maybe it was to drink more bourbon. I think that's what it was. That being said, the ABV on the Rip Van Winkle 10, the old Rip Van Winkle 10, is at 53.5% or 107 proof. And not that anyone would ever do it or put them side by side, but there are adequate comparisons to other whiskeys from Buffalo Trace that will remain nameless. This one we got for 745 euros, so that ultimately comes out to $812.05 USD. And I think, again, that is going to be a little bit below where the market price was, at least in December 2022, where we saw it sold on Sotheby's for about $1,000. So a little bit of a score if you don't think about what the actual cost for it is at MSRP. So that is the old Rip Van Winkle 10. So that is going to be it for the Pappies, or maybe more correctly, the pseudo-Pappy lines out of the haul. But to be honest, these next couple of bottles really are going to be a step up from those two, and are members of the much vaunted and very related to the pseudo-Pappies, the BTAC line. And this next one up specifically is one that the wife and I are super excited to try at some point, which is going to be this George T. Stag. And let me see if I can just kind of scooch this out. Oh, yeah. There we go. Ooh, got that. Set that there nicely. Is this George T. Stag, which is, of course, a member of the BTAC line. And it's probably one of the most favorite and most popular out of that line, other than some of the Pappy Van Winkles. One other thing that's really interesting about the George T. Stag, even if you do just a very rudimentary, dusting of research about it, is that it is named after a man named George T. Stagg, which I don't think anyone would be surprised. But the surprising part about it is that he was not a master distiller. He really wasn't involved that much in the making of whiskey, but what he did do was one super duper, often overlooked important part of this whole whiskey thing, which made him regarded as America's finest whiskey salesman. So I'm not sure how he got that moniker or what it really means, but one thing is for sure, George T. Stagg always be closing. And in fact, he worked under the true master distiller, one Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr., or as we call him, E.H. Taylor, who he sold his whiskey, right? And he sold it presumably to anyone who would listen. He sold it to anyone who could see, and he probably sold it to basically anybody who had a mouth. This one specifically is a 2019 release. It is uncut and unfiltered, so when you look at that color, that is all natural beauty. It has a very respectable ABV of 58.45%, which you can see right there, or 116.9 proof. And although it's not going to have you blowing fire after you take the first couple drams of it, at least you could get on a plane with it and not have it as a hazmat, like some of the other previous George T. Staggs or BTACs. We got this one for 975 euros or $1,062.75, which is actually going to be a bit over the most recent sold GT Stagg at from 2019 from Sotheby's, which was at $938 USD. So I'm guessing, also because it is one of the favorites in the BTAC lines, also because it has the relatively lower ABV in comparison to the other years, it's going to bring down that price just a little bit. So that is the GTS 2019. Now, next up, out of the BTAC line, is the one that the wife and I have actually enjoyed. I think that we had a chance to drink some of it in Paris a couple trips ago, which is going to be this William LaRue Weller 2021. Let me see if I can get the paper off this one. Oh, yeah. Nicely. That is a good-looking bottle, for sure. Of course, it is going to be out of the Buffalo Trace stable, but like the Weller Standard lines and like the old Rip Van Winkle in the Van Winkle Family Reserve 12, this one is also going to be wheated, but with an ABV that is turned up a good amount. And like the GTS, the William LaRue Weller is really an interesting story as well. There's an old joke about a pope who is wanting to drive his own limo and then gets pulled over by the cops. And then when questioned, the cops say, hey, they let him go. Why? Because he's like, I don't know who he is, but he's so important that he had the pope driving him around. So this is kind of a similar story in the sense that William LaRue Weller had a family distiller. He was from a family of distillers for a couple generations up. And at some point, he had Pappy Van Winkle, Julian Pappy Van Winkle Sr., the big guy who actually used to work for him at his Weller & Sons distillery. So just in this box haul, we have had basically concurrent whiskey grades all kind of working together. There's William LaRue Weller, there's Julian Pappy Van Winkle Sr., there's George T. Stagg, and hey, you can even throw in E.H. Taylor, who's all part of the story just from the whiskeys that we found today. I like to think that they probably all sat down and played poker on Saturday nights. And also, I just didn't really ever realize how connected this whole kind of Kentucky whiskey group is. Now, the William LaRue Weller is another of the BTAC lines, and interestingly enough, it is not stored in the warehouse H like the Blantons that all the Blantons are. So rather it is stored in warehouse K, L, D, and Q, and C, and also it loses about 64% of its whiskey in the process to the Angel's share. Of course, that explains why it's so expensive and why the ABV is so heavy, but also maybe they want to check those security cameras because that 64% disappearing, it also sounds like some other folks are taking their share as well. It's aged 12 years, and we bought this one for 1,395 euros or $1,520.55, which is going to be a few dollars over the most recent sale that we saw at Sotheby's in June for $1,500 flat. So, I guess, again, that it might be another indicator that the market is a little turned or we just overpaid for it. It is bad for those folks who are trying to invest in whiskey, but it is great for those of us who are trying to drink whiskey. So that is the William LaRue Weller. All right, last up for today is the only bottle in this box haul that actually is not from Buffalo Trace or one of the BTAC lines, which we had sent out for, which is this Wild Turkey 12 years old. Now, the Wild Turkey 12 used to be available in the United States, but currently is just an overseas market product only. So if you are going to try to get this one, you're going to have to go in person and you're probably going to get some jet lag. Just heads up on that. But it is a unique rendition of a classic American bourbon, Wild Turkey, that has a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye, which is a pretty good amount of rye, and 12% barley. I think that the markets for this one are primarily for Asia, especially as the ABV on it is kind of proofed down. So it's lower than what a lot of times we see in some of the other wild turkey products. And also because of the fact that you see that it has Asian writing on the bottom side of it. The ABV on this one specifically, or the proof on this one, is going to be at 101 proof, right? So that is 50.5% ABV, which you can see right there. And you know, that proofing down actually does happen a lot when they have whiskeys that are specifically designed for some of the Asian markets. I know the Blanton's Takara, which is a Japanese market only product, they had dropped down their ABV to 80 proof, or 40% ABV. To serve that market, to fit with the market taste. This one specifically is the brainchild of Jim and Ed Russell. Yes, those Russells. And after a 10-year blip, a hiatus, if you will, the 12 is now back available on the overseas market. This one we paid 120 euros or $130 USD. And, it's not on Sotheby's because although it may be good, Sotheby's isn't about the flavor. Sotheby's is about the money. And also coffees for closers. Isn't that right, GTS? All right, so that is it for our box haul, our what's in the box. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And in fact, I really hope that you enjoy all of our videos, whether it is the wanders or the hauls or the reviews or the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you, because we have tons and tons and tons of stuff that we are cooking up for you. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are super thankful for that. But also, I like to think that it is good for your whiskey mojo. It pleases the whiskey god, so maybe they'll shine some whiskey luck down on ya. And also, you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays and sometimes in between. Now, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, really wherever you are in the world, online or offline, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And in this case, it might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.